Just look at that. Look at that. So this is seitan. My favorite recipe so far is so meaty and stringy and requires no kneading. I'm going to share my new favorite recipe with you. It takes half an hour to make. You're going to surprise your meat-loving friends how delicious vegan food can be. Unfortunately, the sound did not record. My microphone does that sometimes. So give this video a like and share your favorite seitan recipe in the comments if you wish. And let's get started. Let's make this seitan. Hey, so for those who don't know me yet, welcome to the channel. My name is Katya Gorbacheva. I'm the vegan powerlifter, veganpowerlifter.com, and I'm a strength athlete. I also like to eat tasty foods that have a lot of protein, vegan, of course. This recipe is different from my other seitan recipes because it has apples as a vegetable slash fiber base instead of zucchini or any kinds of greens that my previous seitans have. So if you want to check those out, you can go onto the blog and try them for yourselves. If you're on a cut, those probably fit better than this one, but this one is kind of more closer to, I would probably say, pork. There's different seitan recipes like the one from 96 Eats. It's closer to chicken, so this one is more fatty, and that's why I make it lately for myself, just to get enough calories while pregnant and to get enough protein. And I would also start family members that are not vegan with something that is a little bit more fatty, a little bit more delicious, rather than like a lean protein seitan recipe that is a better fit for vegans who are on a cut or bodybuilders. So anyways, apples is one of the ingredients. As you can see, here's the rest of the ingredients. I'm going to use 100 grams of with gluten, 20 grams of nutritional yeast, of course, a small apple or a half of a medium apple, so 50 to 70 grams. You can also get the puree pre-made or any kind of baby food. I'm going to blend mine, but you can buy it blended. It really doesn't matter, whatever is convenient for you. Next, we need to add some kind of oil, so I added 1 tablespoon of coconut oil. You can use a different oil though, it doesn't matter. Sunflower oil, canola oil, olive oil, it really doesn't matter. Coconut, I think, works great with this recipe. And again, for a more macro-friendly option, you can skip that and add zucchini for more fiber. My other recipe has like almost 0 fats, and it has a little bit of carbs that come with fiber from zucchini and greens, and no oil. So there's options for you. Go on veganpowerlifter.com and let me know which one you like better. A couple drops of liquid smoke and some spices. So I'm going to add turmeric and paprika and this super spicy pepper. And also I like my seitan spicy, so I'm going to add this super spicy pepper. And you can have miso or some kind of a dry broth. It doesn't matter. It doesn't really affect the texture too much, depending whether you add dry broth or liquidy miso. If you're currently traveling and pre-mixing your seitan mix to take it with you, I would probably add the dry broth, of course, and then just use whatever the oil is available at your Airbnb or whatever is easily bought at the store next to the place where you are staying. Spicy foods are life, man. So I am going to add a super spicy chipotle pepper that my mom grew. You can, of course, add a fresh pepper together with the apple and water and blend it if you're blending your apples, if you're not using the apple puree. But this one, it definitely has a kick. So I'm going to add it into my dry mix. And if you're crazy, you can also add it into the pan together with our coating for the seitan that we're going to make later. So I didn't say the seitan is going to be steamed and then grilled on a pan with a little bit of seasonings to coat it and give it a little more flavor. So when it comes to the apples, I just usually add whatever the apple that has been on my windowsill that I don't want to eat. So you see it has some blemishes and I'm like, well, I can just blend it into my seitan. Why throw the apple away? Plus, some people don't like to eat the apple skin, but it has a lot of nutrients and it has the majority of the fiber of the apple. So I would go for this apple that has been on the windowsill for like a while, rather than this green apple that is more tart or sour. So I've already cleaned my apples and they ended up being about like 135 grams, which is perfect. So I am going to add some water and blend those apples, and those are going to make the liquidy part of my seitan. I didn't say that in the first place. I started making this recipe without any apples whatsoever, and it was a more meaty, stringy seitan rather than with the apples, but I like it a little softer. I think pectin makes a huge difference. Like, pectin is a gelatinizing compound that they use in jams and jellies, and instead of gelatin, essentially in a lot of vegan desserts and recipes, pectin is used. So I think it makes a difference, and I would try to add even a little bit of apple puree if you've never made your seitan with it, but it totally works without it. It just ends up being a lot tougher and stiffer. Oh, by the way, I added 135 grams of apples just because I'm making double the recipe. This is going to be for husband and I for like 2-3 days. And if I was making it for one day for one person, I would make a single portion, for which the amounts are going to be in the description. And I also said the apple is typically 50 to 70 grams if you use a small one, or half a large one. Now, to the water. I added 250 to 300 milligrams of water, and then I was thinking, oh, is it too little? Is it too much? Well, you don't have to overthink your water, because you can always add more as you mix your dry mix with your current apple puree plus water situation, and just add more. It's a lot easier to add splashes of water rather than add more vital wheat gluten, or like last time I was making this and I ran out of vital wheat gluten and my seitan ended up being a little too soft because I added too much water to the recipe. So don't add a lot of water in the first place, just add enough to blend your puree. And if you're using miso, to put the miso and maybe the spices or like a spicy pepper into the wet mix before you mix it with the dry. You can always add more water later. That is not a big deal. So let me blend my apples. Great, apples are done. So I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of miso into them. Listen, with miso also the amounts are super flexible, and with your bouillon, if you're using like a dry bouillon or dry broth, because it can have more salt, it can have less salt. My miso has like an average amount of saltiness, but I don't add too much because my husband doesn't like salty seitan. So I would definitely add more if that was me. 2 tablespoons is a hell lot of miso for 2 servings of this. So if you're making 1 serving with 100 grams of vital wheat gluten, start with half a tablespoon of miso or dry bouillon. You can always add more salt when this is done. If you add too much salt, it kind of becomes irrecoverable. Coconut oil or any other oil. Make sure if you keep yours in the fridge to take it out of the fridge so that it softens and it can blend very nicely with your apple miso mix, or you're gonna have to preheat it in the microwave on the low a little bit so that it can combine with the rest of the ingredients. While we're finishing to prep our ingredients and mix them into the seitan batter, I also am going to put some water on heat in a very, very large bowl, and I have my steamer here, so I don't really like any kind of steamers that are electric. I always have used a steamer that you can place in a big pot, very flexible. It also folds if you place it in a small pot, so yep, just gonna wait until that boils and then stick my seitan in there, and I'm going to stick it into the pan with seasoning, and yeah, that's it. No seitan for you, Hera. It's too spicy for doggies. I'm sorry. Okay, let's mix the dry mix. This is pretty straightforward and simple. So my ingredients are double, so I'm adding 200 grams of vital wheat gluten, 20 grams of nutritional yeast, paprika and turmeric. And if you use the dry bouillon instead of miso, this is a place to add it, and then mix everything together. Let me know what seasoning options you like for your seitan, both in the batter and whether you coat it after it is cooked. Pretty straightforward from here. You just mix the wet and the dry and use your spoon until the ingredients incorporate evenly. And then you can start forming the little tiny seitan bites and throw them into your steamer. This is about the consistency that you're shooting for, but again, you can add splashes of water if your seitan is a little bit too hard, or you can add like teaspoon to half a teaspoon dashes of vital wheat gluten flour to the mix if you want it a little harder. I figured that I probably need to sprinkle a little bit of flour to make this perfect consistency, and then yeah, time to stick it into the steamer. You can use your hands to form the pieces that go into the steamer. I'm going to use kitchen scissors for that.
And you're just going to cut the whole thing. They don't have to be even, they don't have to be perfect. They just go in there, and you can always separate them into smaller pieces in the pan later on, or you can keep them in larger loaves. But I find that the smaller the pieces, the faster they cook, even though they are pretty stuck together in the steamer. So yeah, it really is up to you. Make sure none of the pieces are touching the sides, otherwise they are going to burn a little bit, and then just cover your steamer with a lid and let it hang out for about 20 minutes or until your seitan is, for the most part, done.
The good thing about this recipe is if you forget it on the stove, like nothing is gonna happen to it. It's not going to burn. It's just gonna keep steaming, and like there's the same amount of water in the air proportion, so nothing is going to happen to it. My biggest problem cooking seitan is I either undercook it or I burn it because I forget, or I'm freaking out about the time and I take it off the pan or off the oven too early, and then I'm like, damn. But this is not going to be an issue here. So let's now make the seasoning. So first steaming it for 20 minutes and then cooking it on the pan in the seasoning for about 5 minutes is what we're going to do.
So I have got maple syrup, liquid sauce, coconut oil, rice vinegar, any kind of vinegar. You can skip that. Also instead of maple syrup, you can use any other sweetener. You can use any other oil. This is a very flexible coating. So you can, if you want, just buy the sweet and sour and coat it in that. Sriracha and soy sauce. So all I am going to do now is just stick my seasonings into a pan. You can mix them in a separate bowl until they incorporate, but I'm lazy to wash another bowl, so I just always mix them in the pan and set the pan on low heat and throw my seitan pieces in there until they kind of sort of caramelize / coat evenly. The only reason that I'm setting the pan on heat is so that the seasoning thickens and kind of caramelizes on top of the seitan instead of just coating it. But you probably could put them into a bowl and coat them in the seasoning cold and would get a similar result. But I find it a little bit better when the seasoning browns a little bit and kind of toasts the seitan pieces. You can also cut them with a spatula directly on the pan if your pieces were a little too large, like mine are. So I literally just used a fork and my wooden spatula to get more surface area to coat in my sauce.
Okay, seitan is ready, and see, this is what happens. This is what happens every time I leave for like 5 extra minutes. It kind of burns. You want it a little like golden or browned on the sides, I guess, but not burnt. So don't be me, don't burn your seitan.
That's it. I usually serve mine with basmati rice to absorb whatever the sauce that is on the seitan. It is super yummy. Again, best texture, no kneading. Let me know if you like this recipe, if you try it out, or what your favorite seitan recipe is in the comments. And don't forget to hit a like and share this video with another vegan who is looking for an amazing seitan recipe, or with an omnivore. Doesn't matter, everybody should try vegan recipes anyways. So I will see you guys in the next one. Very hungry, so I'm just going to eat now. Bye!